Hospital security footage that left staff with no explanation. Hospital security footage on this list that leaves staff members reviewed, rewound, and still couldn't explain what they were watching. And some of them even refused to work another night shift after seeing what they saw. You guys will not believe this one. Let's start off in a hospital hallway where the camera caught a patient walking who had no business walking at all. At a regional medical center in Ohio, overnight security footage showed a patient from the ICU, someone confirmed by staff to be bedridden and sedated. So, how is this possible? Apparently strolling calmly down the corridor towards the chapel, when nurses ran down to check the room, the patient was exactly where they left them. Still sedated, still hooked up to every monitor, having never left the bed. Nobody has explained who or what the camera actually caught walking that night. Moving right along, we have an elevator camera that caught a call button being pressed by absolutely nobody. Is this real life right now? In a hospital in the Midwest, security footage from an elevator shows the call button lighting up and the doors opening on the morgue level, with the camera clearly showing an empty hallway on both sides of the door before and after. No orderly, no gurney, no reason for that elevator to have stopped there at all. Staff reviewing the tape the next morning noted the timestamp lined up almost exactly with the patient's time of death that was recorded on the same floor the night before. Now we have this next footage that belongs to a nurse's station camera that caught vital monitors reacting before anything went wrong. At a hospital in the southern US, a nurse reviewing footage after an unexplained equipment malfunction noticed something stranger than the malfunction itself. Every monitor on that particular wing flickered and briefly spiked in near perfect unison. Exactly 3 seconds before a code blue was called 2 rooms down. As if every monitor on the floor reacted to something before any human staff member even knew there was a problem. Now we have this footage from a stairwell. A stairwell camera caught a shadow figure descending stairs no living patient could safely use. Security footage from a hospital stairwell, normally used only by staff and maintenance, well, it shows a tall, dark, featureless shape moving down 2 flights without ever stepping on a single stair, gliding just above the surface the entire way. What is happening? A maintenance worker who reviewed the tape after hearing footsteps that didn't match anyone on the shift quit within the month. Now we have this next one. It is filmed in a pediatric ward. A pediatric ward camera caught something standing over an empty crib at a children's hospital. I mean, this is creepy. A nighttime security check pulled up footage of a small, indistinct shape leaning over an unoccupied crib in a temporarily empty room, staying in that position for nearly 4 minutes before straightening up and walking directly towards the camera until the frame simply went to static. The camera itself needed to be replaced afterwards. Engineers found nothing mechanically wrong with it, which is strange. Now we have footage that was found in the operating room. An operating room camera that caught equipment moving mid-surgery with nobody near it. During a routine low-risk procedure at a hospital on the East Coast, overhead recording equipment, standard for liability purposes, caught a surgical tray several feet from the operating table visibly shift several inches on its own, while every member of the surgical team was confirmed by the same footage to be occupied elsewhere in the room. The hospital's risk management team reviewed the tape, found no draft, no vibration, no explanation, and quietly filed it away. Like, what do you put on that file? Object moved with no human contact, and they just left it in the report. Now we have this footage from a maternity ward, and it was a maternity ward footage where a chair moved on its own in an empty recovery room. Staff at a maternity ward noticed chair in an unoccupied recovery room rocking, just steadily rocking on security footage for nearly 2 minutes. With the door confirmed closed, there's no HVAC vent. So for you guys who are thinking maybe the HVAC's on, the wind is moving it, the HVAC was nowhere to be found. Nurses on that floor have quietly nicknamed the room after the incident. Next up, we have this camera outside the hospital chapel that caught a figure entering a room that had already been locked up for the night. While security footage timestamped well after visiting hours shows a figure in what appears to be old-fashioned clothing walking directly through the chapel's closed and, according to the log, already locked door, without the door ever opening on camera. camera. Chapelinski's staff who reviewed the tape reportedly recognized the description as matching a former patient who had died in the same hospital decades earlier. Next up, we have a footage. It's a hospital's own IT department that flagged as technically impossible. At a hospital that had recently upgraded its entire security system, new cameras, new servers, new softwares, that works, while IT staff was reviewing the footage for an unrelated theft investigation. But instead, you will not believe what they found. Instead, they found a night's worth of recording where a fully visible, solid black humanoid shape moved through 5 separate camera feeds on 3 different floors within the same 60-second window. To put that into perspective, that's the distance that would be physically impossible for any human being on this earth. So this thing was moving fast. For this person to cover that time on footage is absolutely impossible, and let alone without triggering a single motion activated hallway light along the way. So as it was moving, it triggered no movement activation lights or appearing on a single elevator. So how did it get to the different floors? And if you guys are thinking it used the stairway, no, the stairway cameras didn't capture anything. The IT team ran the timestamps through 3 separate verification checks. Assuming, there are syncing errors across the servers, and every single check confirmed the timestamp was actually accurate down to the second. One technician reportedly told a colleague, off the record, that reviewing the footage was the first time in his career that he generally considered just quitting IT altogether. He was done reviewing camera footage, especially camera footage at hospitals and stuff. Imagine checking them at psych wards. Absolutely no thank you. And finally, we have an ICU camera footage that made a hospital administrator personally request the tape never to be released to the family who asked for it. In an ICU room where a patient's condition had stabilized overnight against, every expectation of the medical staff, a recovery the attending physician later described in its own notes as clinically unusual. What does that mean? The overnight security camera captured a tall, dark shape standing at the foot of the bed for nearly the entire shift. Totally creepy. It didn't move. It didn't shift weight. It simply stood there for close to 7 straight hours. It was present through every nurse's check-in, every monitor beep, every routine pass through the room, as if it belonged there. And then in the exact same frame where the patient's vitals suddenly dramatically improved at dawn, the shape simply is not present anymore. No frame of it leaving, no gradual fade, just one frame and then boom, the next frame totally gone. At the precise moment, the numbers on the monitor turned around. The family understandably wanted answers. What is happening? And requested the footage formally through hospital administration. But the hospital cited patient privacy. They're going with that one. And they never released it. That was their justification.